In bird culture, this is considered a dick move.
Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences. We'll get on with the show in just a minute, but first a quick word from my sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk. KIENDA stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to KIENDA and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
So on this Beyond the Base Game review, we're taking a look at Wingspan Asia, which, you'll be seeing there's something wrong with this picture already. Firstly, that is the base box of Wingspan, it's not Asia. Secondly, there's a bat on it, but it's got wings and I don't have a bird plushie, so sue me. But the idea with this is that I bought the nesting box, which is down there on the floor, crumbling the floor as it possibly can, and the Asia expansion was included in it, so I don't have the actual box. But here's a picture on the screen. There you go, that's what it looks like. So I'm just going to go over the content of the game and sort of give my thoughts as to whether this expansion is worth it, if you're a die-hard fan or if you're new to the game, and just say how it is. Now, as a bit of background, I love Wingspan. You know, Stonemaier has made essentially 3 games that I adore. I love Viticulture, and I love Scythe, and I love Wingspan. They're basically the main 3. Well, actually saying that, the only 3. But with this in mind, I do love this game. I think it was like 11 on my top 100. It was definitely up there. It was somewhere in the high 10s. You know, like almost in my top 10 games of all time. So I do adore this game, okay? So naturally I'm excited for more content, but I am starting to reach a bit of a limit because we're not short on content here, and knowing that there's more content expansions coming out fills me with a little bit of like hope, but also with a sense of dread, and it's mostly because of this expansion. Now, you know, take that with a pinch of salt in terms of, you know, what I think of this expansion, but know that I'm going to be saying some positive and negatives here, but this is for a game that I absolutely adore. So does that help my view? I don't know. We'll see. So the main aspect of this is that it's essentially packaged as a 1 to 2 player standalone expansion for Wingspan, and I know that doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but basically it gives you more birds. It gives you more Asia birds, and that's pretty much the primary reason that anybody is buying this, frankly. More birds, and yes, they're not all sleeved. I ran out of sleeves. I need to get some more. But there's a good quantity of birds here. I mean, the idea is that this is meant to be playable on its own without having to buy the base set of Wingspan. And so they give you plenty enough birds in the box. So if you're like me and you just want to get a bunch of new birds for this game, mix them up with your previous set, and bundle them all together, then, well, you're in luck because there's some really cool ones here. The brambling, the common sandpiper, the crested lark, Indian peafowl, the white-crested laughing thrush. What that's supposed to be like? Is that a sort of weird version of a kookaburra? I don't know. The trumpeter finch, the stork-billed kingfisher, the Sri Lanka frogmouth. What kind of bird name is that? That's a weird one. But these ones have the powers as per the previous expansion. So if you've played Europe and Oceania, you know that they came with other powers that happened at the end of the round and the end of the game. Well, they're in here as well. So you've got the normal when played powers, where it's only got white and nothing else. But then you've also got the European blue banner powers at the end of the round. You've got the normal when activated browns. And somewhere in the mix, you have the occasional game end yellow one. Although not many of them, in fact. When you go through this deck, you're going to find a lot of browns, you're going to find a decent amount of blues, and you're going to find about 1, 2, maybe 3 game end birds. You know, there are very few of them in here. So if that was your favorite part of the Oceania birds, well, then you're not going to see a ton of them here. But there's a good quantity of birds. Although part of me is wondering why they didn't just simply give me a promo pack with all of these in, sell it for $15 and let me have it. Because frankly, that's kind of all I want from a Wingspan expansion at this point. Just give me a bag with a bunch of cards in it and say, here you go, more cards. That's all you need to do.
You patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it.
So the fact that it's playable on its own without needing the components from normal Wingspan means that you're getting a lot of content in the box that you don't desperately need unless you're going to use every feature of this expansion. You'll end up with 2 more player colors because of flock mode needing 6 or 7 players. But if you already own Wingspan, then you're not going to bother with 2 sets of colors, particularly if, like me, you've pimped up your copy of Wingspan and got birdhouses and plastic resources. Well, the fact that it gives you more cardboard tokens and more cardboard cubes, wooden cubes, is not really going to be a selling point for this. But the idea is that 1 or 2 people can buy Wingspan Asia and still play the Duet version of this game on its own without needing any of the original components, which is quite cool. Although part of me is sort of wondering, why didn't you just simply make a spin-off game called Wingspan Duet and package it in a tiny box and just market it as its own thing? Why did it have to be packaged along with Asia? Methinks it's because they didn't think that it would sell well enough if they just bundled a bunch of cards in a box and said Asia. Well, you did that with European, so we'll get it. But the idea with Duet Mode is it's essentially using this board. And if you're wondering, ooh, Duet Mode, I like playing Wingspan with 2-player, this could be really interesting. Well, it's, you might want to temper your expectations a little bit here, because in terms of changes between the 2-player of this and 2-player Wingspan, here's all your changes. That's pretty much it. It's just this. Essentially, with the help of the nesting box that I've got here, you have a bunch of these, basically like teardrop tokens, as I want to call them, for white and black in your player colors. And what you're essentially doing is you're playing a normal game of Wingspan. And I gotta say, the boards that they do put in have got very nice artwork on them. I do really like them. But it's all about this like grid here with the different icons on it. Every time when you set the game up, you have to put one of these little tiered tokens on your board. And when you play a bird on the space, you take the token that was on that space and pop it on this little grid, depending on what type of bird it was you played. So, which habitat was it? Well, it was in the green habitat. Okay. Well, it was a greater than 50 centimeter wingspan. It had wheat as its cost. It also was in a wood nest or whatever. So I could put it on any one of these free spaces because that's what the bird had. So you put your little token on the space and whoop, there you go. And that's all you need to do for now. At the end of the round, you have round end bonus tiles, which function in the same way as the stuff from the previous game, except in this occasion, they're all based on these tokens. So you've got, total tokens on the map, tokens on the food spaces, tokens in one horizontal row. They are all keyed to this. But other than that, they function exactly the same as the end round goals. Person who has the most gets the most points. Whoever has, second best gets nothing. It's just flat out points or nothing with the 2-player version. And then you carry on as normal. And then when you get to the end, you look at your biggest contiguous group of tokens and you get a point for each one in that group. That is literally it. Wow. Okay. Bear in mind that this game was packaged in the nesting box, which cost over £100 if you were buying it not as a Stonebuyer champion, and I believe the expansion on its own was somewhere in the region of 35 to 40 bucks to buy it. It's not a cheap expansion, and most of what you're paying for is effectively some extra components that you're not really going to use, and this board with a mode that literally could have just been put in as a variant. In fact, like I said, why wasn't this just separately packaged as Wingspan Duet? You could have literally just gone, right, well, here's, half the number of birds, here's the board, some tokens, here you go, Wingspan Duet. It's its own thing, like Splendor Jewel, like Seven Wonders Jewel. But instead, it's in an expansion for Asia, which is going to contain stuff that people who aren't interested in this are going to buy because they want all these cards. Cash grab! Mainly like me, because I don't play this game with 2 players. But, that being said, it's a nice little twist on the system. It's not like this is a bad way to play Wingspan, it's a fun way to play Wingspan. But honestly, I could take it or leave it. I could play it this way, or I could just play it the normal way. Either way, I'm happy. But I do like, and I think more games need to do this, they have quick start guides in here to help new players get into this. So each player can have one of these, and so player A and player B, they've got red bits in the corner to highlight cards that you should use for your first game. I can't pick up these when they're not sleeved. But it basically takes you for the first 4 turns, script for script. So it says like, turn 1, play the willow tit in your forest, and it shows you what happens when you play the willow tit, which icon you put on the duet board, and then what food it will cost, how that works, and then it says turn 2, play it in your wetland, and it goes through 4 full turns, and then turn 5 and beyond, you just get on with it. This is a very good little quick guide. I think if you want to help new people get into this, or say you're completely new to Wingspan, somehow you're completely new to Wingspan, and you've bought Asia to get into it from a 2-player perspective, these are a very good way to do it. So certainly positive things to say on that. But yeah, this massive thing about it being a standalone for 2 players, I was kind of expecting a bit more than just a variant on the end of round goals, some wooden tokens, and a board with some icons to cover for, for a non-thematic area control thing. I mean, why are we scoring points for a contiguous group? Why are we even covering these things in the first place? There's no real theme with this. I mean, I'm not saying that Wingspan's the most thematic game in history, but it's, this kind of just feels artificial, feels very mechanical, but it works. If you're into playing Wingspan 2-player and you want to play it this way, you'll enjoy it, because frankly it's so similar to the original game that you can't hate one way of playing it and not the other. It's just a little twist on the idea, and I've seen people enjoy it, and I say, I enjoyed using it as well. But it just, when I consider how much the expansion cost, and what hype there was for this, it's like, come on, I was expecting a bit more of a change, or something a bit more dramatic. I mean, even Splendor Duel has more changes in its gameplay than this does, and that's saying something. But, well, it's still a decent enough addition to the expansion. However, oh my word, oh boy, ranting coming. Yeah, this game also touted another mode, called Flock Mode. Flock Mode is where you get to play this game with 6 or 7 players. Get out! Get out of there! Did anyone in the name of all that is holy in bird culture ask for 6 to 7 player Wingspan? I want to see a poll. I want to see documentary evidence that at some point in the feedback for Wingspan, there was a decent enough of people, not just a few, a decent enough to cause a publisher to go and make a business decision to do this, that they wanted Wingspan with 6 to 7 players. I don't even like playing Wingspan with 5.
5 is right out.
5-player Wingspan is too long. I'm sat there like waiting ages for someone to get back round to me while other people are taking their turn. I've already planned out my next 4 actions. It's just like, get a move on. It drags the game out like crazy. Never like Wingspan with 5. I'll play it with 4, fine, and I love it at 3. I love it at 2. I'll even play it solo. And to be fair, you can play this with the solo mode, and the solo automno with this is pretty good fun. I mean, it's pretty much the same cards. It's just been tweaked slightly to, akin to the Asia rules. But 6 to 7? Why? But I digress. Maybe you want 6 or 7 players. So how does it actually play? Oh dear God. Oh dear God almighty. Flock mode is basically... Why? I still can't get over why. Basically, you set up the game in a massive grid, like massive system where you have 2 groups of players. So you have 2 groups, one group of 3 players with all the stuff laid out, tray, bird feeder, cards. You already know how much space that takes up on the table. And then you have another group with its own bird feeder, tray, cards, boards, the lot. So you can already tell that the table hog space required for 6 players is insane. Now try and squeeze a 7th on the board and you're in for a real treat. But essentially what happens is there is a little dial that is, I believe it's in the nesting box at the moment, but you'll put the 6 or 7 player marker on there and you'll twist it round as you go through. And the idea is that it takes the system from Mystic Vale, which I've got down here, the Equinox variant. And it essentially means that 2 players can play the game at the same time. So, are taking their turn at the same time. So 2 players will take a turn, finished, done, and once they've both wrapped up, dial points to 2 other players and they take their turn. So 2 people are playing simultaneously. So you might think, well, this kind of speeds the game up brilliantly. Could I use this in less players? Not really. The game only has these dials for 6 to 7 players, so if you want to play this fast with 4 or 5, you're out of luck. But even then, the word fast, I think, has a new meaning. I mean, I will quote you from the book, okay? So let's find Flock Mode gameplay. So where we got? Flock Mode. I will find it. This is quoted in here. Just need to find it. Come on. Flock Mode, Flock Mode, Flock Mode. Here we go. 6 to 7. This expansion enables 6 and 7 player games when combined with the base game. Plan for a Flock Mode game to last about 2 hours on your first try, longer if there are inexperienced players in your group.
That's putting it mildly, 007.
Did anybody want to play Wingspan for 2+ hours? 2.5? No! The great thing about Wingspan was that it was short, it was light, it was, fluffy and yet gave you a good amount of tactical choices in a 60-minute time frame. 90 absolute max, and once it gets past 90, I'm kind of done. This is meant to be a shorter game. So you've basically made a mode which, makes the game take longer. It's like the Ticket to Ride Rails and Sails standalone expansion that happened. It took a game that was short, light, and cool, and then made it more lucky and twice as long. You can tell why that one, bombed, didn't you? But it's not that you just have the table hog issue or the length issue. You also have the fact that the rules are a bit more complicated as well. Because it's easier when you've got 6 of you, because it's always going to be one from each of the 2 separate groups. How does that work with 7? Well, when you've got 7, you've got 4 in one group and 3 in another. And so the book actually stipulates it that at certain times you're going to have one person take a turn on their own, and at some point you're going to have 2 people from the 4-player group take turns while the other group of 3 doesn't. It's like, huh? And the amount of times I've had people sort of go, wait a minute, in the same game, going, okay, wait a minute, so there's 2 of us now? Oh, there's meant to be 1 of us now? And you can easily lose track of what's going on. It's unreal. But that's already weird in itself. But then you've also got the fact that when you've got 2 separate groups of players, you have to ask yourself, well, how does that bird work with that one? And how does that bird work with this one and stuff? Well, it's got the rules in here, but it's got, interactions and special circumstances, as I said. But then it's got rules for how certain cards interact based on it. So flock mode, powers that interact with other players. You've got, a decent half a page of rules for circumstantial times for once between turns, all players, other players, another player. 3 very similar types of terminology that are on these cards, and there's different rules for the 3 of them. You've basically made a mode that is longer, more unwieldy, and more fiddly and complicated than the original Wingspan.
And everybody's okay with this? Did I miss something?
Why was this made? I don't understand. Now, maybe you want this with 6 or 7 players, and maybe flock mode is everything you've ever wanted, but seriously, I would rather you just got 2 copies of Wingspan and broke up into 2 teams of 3. It would probably be a lot more fun in that respect. Because all you're basically doing is just saying, well, we've got a group of 6 or 7 of us, and now we're just going to try and find a table that is remotely big enough to house 6 or 7 people on it with Wingspan. It's not like it's a small table space. I mean, most tables won't hold 6 to 7 player Wingspan. It's insane. And you've just made it longer, more unwieldy, more fiddly, more complicated. It doesn't need to exist. I'd love to hear your comments in down below if this is something that you love. And I'd love to hear your reasons why. We can debate this until I was about to say the cows come home, the birds come home, I guess. But still, it's not a mode that I'm ever playing again, that's for sure.
In fact, never play this again.
So in summary, this expansion was just a big disappointment for me. And I love Wingspan. 11th favourite game of all time, or at least top 15, I can't fully remember. This is a game I adore. So the fact that I've had negative stuff to say about this expansion has got to speak some volumes here. Because as much as I could have gone into this thinking it's Wingspan related and therefore I love it, I gotta give it tough love. And honestly, the only person who I think is going to get any decent value out of this is somebody who really, really wants this duet mode. Or maybe it's 2 people who have never played Wingspan before and want to jump into Wingspan at a cheaper price point. But you're still paying 30 to 40 bucks for this. I mean, you could just, find an extra 10 bucks and buy the normal box of Wingspan, and then at least you've got the facility to play with 3 or 4 players. Not 5. Trust me, do not play with 5. But it just doesn't seem that worth it for the money. The value is lost here. The flock mode for me is a waste of time, and I think for most people, there may be the occasional person out there who wants to play 6-7 player Wingspan. But for the life of me, I don't know any personally, and I'm not even sure most people even have a table big enough to house 6 or 7 player Wingspan. It is that much of a table hog. So that mode just seems like a waste of money in the box that I'm never going to use. So really, all I'm after is these, and you could have just given this to me in a $15 promo pack bag with less packaging, less wasted cardboard, and I'd have been totally happy. This was all European, was? And that was overpriced because it came in a fancy box. Just give me a bag with cards in it and I'll be happy. Do that for Africa and Antarctica and South America. Just more birds, a few end around tiles and a few bonus cards. There you go. I'm happy. That's really all I want from Wingspan at this point because it's already got enough content as it is. This is just a minor tweak. It's a good little minor tweak, but it's not enough to justify $40. And the flock mode is just a waste of design space.
Wow, that was pretty brutal even by my standards.
No backsies.
Take it from that what you will. I was just looking forward to this and I ended up really disappointed. This is a 4 out of 10 for me. Below average. It's saved from being considered bad purely because the duet mode at least works. I do like the quick start mode they put in this. That is good for new players and these birds are cool. But considering the value of this expansion, it's just honestly not worth it at full price. Wait for it to be discounted. Only buy these cards if you're desperate to add more birds to Wingspan. If you think you've got enough and it's all in one box and you didn't need the big nesting box example, then you've got enough content. You don't need these. You certainly don't need to spend $40 on them. But as I say, I'd be interested to know your thoughts. So that's it for me, and I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up on YouTube, and especially thumb it up on Board Game Geek. Let's get those thumbs there, because to see it appear in hottest reviews would make my day. But of course, let me know your thoughts down below. Is 6 to 7 player mode the one you've been waiting for? Are you that one person that I'll meet for the first time that likes 6 to 7 player Wingspan? In which case, tell me your thoughts. Tell everybody your thoughts. Do you love the duet mode? Is this the preferred way to play 2-player? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on that as well. But as I say, I love the game, just don't like what they've done with this expansion. Maybe it was better for you, but these are just my thoughts. So until next time, you can check out more content on the show, but mainly check out the nesting box review. It is down there on the floor. It's huge. I can't pick it up with one hand at the moment, but I've done a full unboxing and showcase of what it's like. Pros and cons galore. So take care, and remember, as always, regardless of how many players you want to play Wingspan with, it's still only a game, regardless of whether my thoughts are positive or negative. Take care, and bye for now.
We killed them and ate their livers.